Channel 2 News begins right now with breaking news.
And breaking right now at 10 o'clock, 2 Louisville police officers are in the hospital after they were shot tonight. A grand jury in Louisville decided earlier today not to charge officers in the shooting death of Breonna Taylor, and that set off protests nationwide tonight. This is video from the Louisville Police Department's live Facebook feed when someone is heard saying an officer was down. Let's listen.
We got an officer down.
Officer down, they're backing officers out.
Officers out.
Did you hear that? Take cover. Louisville Metro Police spoke about the officers who were shot, saying one of them is now in surgery.
I am very concerned about the safety of our officers. Obviously, we've had 2 officers shot tonight, and that is very serious. It's a very dangerous condition. I think that the safety of our officers and the community we serve is of utmost importance.
Police now saying one person was taken into custody. Police say both officers are expected to survive. That's great news. One is alert and in stable condition. Again, the other is in surgery, but also in stable condition. The FBI is now investigating that shooting.
This comes on the same night as protests erupted in Louisville after a grand jury declined to charge any officers in Breonna Taylor's death. One former officer was charged with wanton endangerment for shooting into a home next to Taylor's, a home that had people inside. A curfew went into effect in Louisville at 9 o'clock tonight.
So protests are now being organized across the country tonight. This is the scene in New York City. These are live pictures here from New York City where people took part in a march earlier tonight, and you can see the mass of people there right now. And many people gathered in Chicago as well. Take a look. They're also protesting the grand jury's decision. You see them making their way through Chicago. Again, live pictures as we speak.
Let's shift our live camera now. We have people protesting in Dallas tonight as they march through the streets of downtown. A rally also held here in Houston. A few dozen people attended this event right outside City Hall downtown. As you can see, this was earlier today, and they were chanting Breonna Taylor's name. Tensions
had already been rising ahead of today's announcement in Breonna Taylor's case.
NBC's Jay Gray has a closer look at the grand jury's decision and the reaction that followed.
Anger spilling into the streets of Louisville.
I don't even have words. It's just crazy.
At times turning violent, 2 Louisville police officers hit by gunfire as protesters clashed with police and the National Guard.
As they were deploying to investigate what was going on at First and Broadway, shots rang out and 2 of our officers were shot.
After a grand jury's decision that no Louisville police officer will be directly charged in the death of Breonna Taylor.
And every single person who fears police and being murdered by police deserve much better than what we got today.
It's been more than 6 months since police stormed Breonna Taylor's apartment looking for drugs. Her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, thinking it was a break-in, shot at officers who fired back, killing Taylor. The state's investigation focused on Brett Hankison, Miles Cosgrove, and Jonathan Mattingly, the 3 officers who opened fire during the raid. Only Hankinson, who was fired from the department, was indicted on 3 counts of wanton endangerment for firing into a neighboring apartment.
And our investigation found that Mattingly and Cosgrove were justified in their use of force after having been fired upon by Kenneth Walker.
The Taylor family attorney calls the decision outrageous.
We still have work to do. We still are pushing for justice for Breonna. We still have the FBI investigation.
While this community promises to continue saying her name. Jay Gray, NBC News, Louisville.
The Houston branch of the NAACP spoke out this evening, calling the verdict unjust, shameful, and, quote, deplorable misrepresentation of justice.
This grand jury's decision announced yet another crime against Breonna Taylor's humanity. Every justice-loving American should be outraged at this blatant act of injustice.
The organization's leaders say the verdict should be used to bring attention to the justice system, and that now the course of action to take is to head to the polls and vote. We do have more updates on the protests following the grand jury's decision, as well as a timeline of events in the Breonna Taylor case. Just go to click2houston.com.